Right, so we're going to get the reviewers panel going at this stage. First of all, how many of you have read the book? 1, 2, any more? 3, 4, 5, okay, 6. How many people have got a copy of the book? Right, you see what I was expecting was that the remaining hands would then go back up. Alright, if you haven't got a copy of the book, you saw it on your way in, please make sure that you pick one up, especially after the event, but if you want to pick one up during the event, please do so, because they will sell out quickly. Right, so our reviewers panel. Do we have Mary Orpen in the room? Yes, we do, excellent. Your hand went up, you've read the book. If you could just stand up for us, please. Okay then, can we have Ezebe? Is Ezebe in the room, please? Ezebe, please stand. Round of applause for Ezebe too. Ifedayo. Is Ifedayo in the room? Thank you. And Stephanie Fenimore. Right. Okay then, I'm going to say just a little bit about each of you and as we welcome you up into the stage. So, Mary Orpen is a senior digital and marketing specialist, currently working in the car leasing industry. She's a top global secretary of the year in 2013, which means she's incredibly organized. Right. She was in a film, actually, called 3 Men and a Little Baby. Who's seen that? Yes. All right. Okay, I'm going to have to go watch that movie again. Okay, I was a little bit young when I watched it. Right. She's a dancer in a previous life and is the only person ever to be the top marketer of the year for the Institute of Direct Marketing. With such a wonderful CV, welcome her to the top. Right, Ezebe, sir. Right, Ezebe is a lawyer by training and a senior international HR manager by occupation. He works in London for the technology, advertising and consulting firm Sapient. Thank you. At this point, I've got to ask everybody who's got a mobile phone. I won't say put it off, because you won't, but put it on silent, please. By day, Ezebe advises senior business leaders about immigration. Some of you may want to pick him afterwards. Sorry, I couldn't help it. That was very bad of me, sorry. Right, tax, international HR policy, and he advises on such similar issues. By night, he writes and he produces music as a hobby, watches copious amounts of Sky News, and enjoys a bit of astronomy when the foggy London skies permit. Could you please welcome him to the front? Ifedayo. Ifedayo is a lawyer by training with a passion for baking. I thought I said banking, I was going to say let's talk. With a passion for baking, we can still talk. I like it. She currently runs her own business in Abuja with clientele in various walks of life and the government. When she's not running her own business, she leads a youth church and loves creating new recipes. Would you please welcome her to the front? Finally, we have got Stephanie Fenimore. Did I pronounce it correctly? Thank you very much. Last but not least. So Stephanie's a fashion designer and she's a makeup artist. She's an avid reader who loves an epic story. And you have read this book. Is it epic? Excellent. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Stephanie. She's going to be our moderator. Stephanie, if you would please. Where's the round of applause?
Start off with, what about the book appealed to you the most?
Want to start?
Yes, please.
Brilliant. Wow, what appealed to me the most about this book, I loved the way it seemed to transport me back to that time, which I knew existed, but have obviously never experienced, being a little bit too young. And it just transported me to a time before, when contact with the West was still quite new, and the conflicts of a time were very real and very, very raw. And it was like a win for me. it was a window into that world. I really liked looking through that window.
What I liked the most was that every time you read every chapter or anything about the book, it would take you, like you said, right back to the setting. You could feel what the people or the person you're talking about was going through. Everything about it took you right back to the place. You could create that picture in your mind and see yourself in that particular setting. It was described well, it was written well, so your mind would build that setting and you would see yourself standing there and just, watching it happen and all that. So, yeah, I really like that about it.
And I'd agree with both the other reviewers. I found it incredibly evocative. I've never been to Nigeria, but I just felt when I was reading the book as though I was there, and it was wonderful. I could see the people, I could feel the heat, it was fantastic.
Well, actually, now that you've all brought up the universe of the book, which is definitely, I think, one of the best elements about it, what would you say about the book that you found? We're all from different places, even within Nigeria, all different places here. What would you say was the most informative? Because I found it very informative. What would you say was something that you thought, okay, well, that isn't something I considered. I didn't think of this. Starting Marie, what would you say?
Well, for me,
yes.
I'm a history graduate, so
okay.
I found it it's not a period I've studied.
Yes.
And I found all the information about the Biafran War
yes.
incredibly interesting, and
yes.
and actually really some of the incidents that happened, and you really felt like you were there, and it was terrifying. And really, some of the things that happened later with the families they're trying to get back home, really horrifying.
Well, having read personally about the Biafran War quite a bit, that bit was extremely emotional.
Yeah.
The whole Biafran setting, that was very emotional. Being also of Igbo origin,
yes.
It's particularly emotional because, we were Biafra.
Yeah.
Right. So, but informative. I never really thought about the conflict that the introduction of Christianity to the essentially animist society brought when a person decided, I'm going to follow a different path. And the rest of the society looks and says, dude, you're crazy. And the tension that brought in day to day, reading that period, I never really thought deeply about that before. And it sort of brought that to life in front of my eyes.
Yes, I agree with ECB on that. It's just opened up my eyes to understand what happened back then when Christianity was pretty new, and all the issues, especially with having twins and things like that. We'd read about it in history classes, but then I never really knew anybody that went through it. Even though I knew him, I didn't even know all that story behind, and all that. So that was informative. And then also the war itself. At first I thought it was making light of it, but then when I read the book like the second and the third time, then it kind of sunk in, and I'm like, okay, he wasn't really making light of it. In the first read, I thought, why would he just put it like that and make it sound like it was just a war that went on for a few whatever, and then everybody got over it and everything happened, and some people lost some people, and for him, everybody came back home, everything was complete, and they didn't have anything to worry. But then when I read it the second and the third time, it sunk in, and I said, oh yeah, so it was a real war and people lost. Even though in their family, the brother came back and everything seemed all right, around them, there were people who had issues to deal with and people who lost out. So yes, it was pretty informative on that.
Who was your favourite character? Who stood out and why?
I'll try my answers not to give too much away for those who haven't read the book.
Yes. As my friend has pointed out, that is their concern.
On many occasions, I remember screaming at the television or radio, like, no, don't say that. But for me, it was actually the character of Kiri himself. I thought he was a well-written character with a lot of depth to him. And you could see his development through the ages and through the stages of his life, from the very beginning as the little boy and his relationship with the father, right through the period of the war and school and all the things that shaped him into who he became. I thought that was a very well-written character, and I could really feel that.
For me, it was Alfred Okoro, that's
Yes.
Papa Iberi.
Yes.
That was the person for me because he brings in the African man, the typical African father. They're like that. He was beating him and at the same time praying for him. You're not going to disgrace me and then beating him. That is the typical African father. So throughout the book, for me, it was him. It was it was him.
I loved Alfred as well. I just loved the fact that he was such a man of God, but not at all sanctimonious.
Yes.
And he was so brave. He saved Kiri so many times, literally and figuratively. So his voice was always there, even when Kiri was off at school and going to university, and he wasn't actually physically by his side.
Yes.
He was, because
Yes.
the values that he gave him growing up were still there. And it's interesting what you say about typical African father, because I had a typical Irish father, and he was the very same. And I was just like, the bits of humour for me were when the little boy gets himself into trouble or he's lost, the father's initial reaction is, let me find myself a stick. And that was my dad all over. I loved him.
My personal favourite was Kiri's mother. I don't know what I liked so much. I think it was the fact that he woke up after a terrible experience, and I'm going to tell everyone and spoil it, with a snake. And the first thing she announces to young Kiri was, yes, we've cooked the snake, and we will serve it to you all. And that sort of abruptness that comes with African motherhood, or just general motherhood, I just thought was beautiful, personally beautiful. What do you actually, because I was going to ask you what you thought about the father-son relationship, which is what, it's been mentioned, but what do you think the book has either told you or informed you about the father-son relationship, or what has it solidified for you?
Yes, the father-son relationship was very traditional.
Yes.
African traditional.
Yes.
In the sense of you had the father who was quite disciplinarian.
Yes.
And yet had so much love for his son. And it showed that the two are not mutually exclusive. Physical discipline does not necessarily exclude love. And it showed that that was the case in that society. And it is still the case in many who still adhere to that philosophy of parenting. And I thought it did portray that rather well.
I liked as well with him, although yes, he was very strict and he was very, very loving, he also in no way tried to constrain his children. So when the other brother goes into the army, and then when Kiri later on goes to Lagos and into the UK, these are experiences that he hasn't had himself, but he doesn't try to stop them, and I thought that was fabulous.
Well, I thought that Kiri was trying to make his father proud of him, and I think he achieved it, and I liked the relationship from the beginning. The dad did everything to save him, and then, the relationship went from the typical African father who's very strict, like Elizabeth said, to someone that was also loving. He didn't show it like all mushy love, but it was there. You could sense it and see it in the background. He was still very loving, as strict as he was.
And obviously there'd be highs and lows, but what would you say, how would you describe the emotions you felt while reading the book? Particular parts that, obviously strong emotions abound during the book, different happenings. It was a good swathe of our nation's history, really. And Kiri and his father were witness to that. But what would you say is the main emotion that came out of the book for you personally?
Okay, I was amused. I know that sounds weird,
Yes.
but then I was amused because I know him.
Yes.
As in, I grew up knowing him and thinking of him as a very strict person, and so when I read the book I was like, he did all that, like seriously. So he did all that. So for me, as much as there were serious issues when there was the war, I was a bit sad about it. When he was at the river and he couldn't cross, I understood that because I had a fear of water. So I could feel every bit of it, but all in all I was pretty amused that someone that I see as all grown up and all, strict and everything, he had the same childhood that any other child would kind of have, and he did all these things that he did that I never imagined that he would do, but then it just made it real. It made it like a real thing. Like, it wasn't just, this is someone's life, the way a child will grow and then become very professor, and all that. I just saw that other side, and I'm like, oh, okay, I was pretty amused by it, but then I still felt all the other emotions along as I read it.
In all honesty, it's difficult for me to pick one emotion. In all honesty, I started off with amusement. This is laugh out loud moments, everything. This is really amusing. And then, my jaw begins to drop. And I'm like, seriously? Good grief. And it was a roller coaster for me. It was a roller coaster. It started with amusement, then it got pretty serious indeed. And, ups and downs, I would say I was taken to Alton Towers and back. Thanks, guys.
Me too. I mean, I think there were some of the things that happened. So the character Chinwe, I just thought was lovely. And then with what happened to her, I just wasn't expecting it. And then with the when Kiri was involved with the hospital, and then obviously the incident at the end of that, I wasn't expecting it at all. So it was actually really quite shocking. And I spent a bit of time crying over some of the characters, not in a bad way, in a good way. It was a good experience, but there was a lot of humour in it as well. And it was just a book I really enjoyed, and I think roller coaster is about right.
Yes, definitely. There's no way you could discuss this book without discussing the traditional elements. For you, not being Nigerian, it's probably a revelation. For you being Igbo, it's probably sort of cements some things you already knew. And for you, it must be like, these are my neighbours, but really, especially being Yoruba with the twin situation and everything. What did you make of the traditional elements, especially rubbing up against the Christianity? How did that find you? How did you find that? Sorry.
Well, I don't really know a lot about the traditional things.
Yes.
Yeah. We've grown up in Lagos where we don't really know what's going on with the... So I can't really say much about the traditional things, but with the twins, in our part of Nigeria, they've always been accepted.
Yeah.
So reading about... It was quite a graphic scene. When you read it and you really understand it, I'm like, why would somebody want to kill twins? Why would you say, this is the spirit's child? Or I didn't quite understand where all that was coming from, or the reasoning behind it.
Yes.
Because, like I said, where we come from in Nigeria, it's a thing of joy. Everybody wants to have twins in my area. They're all like so really excited to have twins. So, but I read it, and then that even made me go online to read more about, what happened at that time and everything that was done, Mary Slicer and all that. So, yes, that's about the little that I know about the traditional things. I really can't say much about traditional African stuff.
And yourself?
Well, similarly, very much a Lagos boy.
Okay.
So, yes, some people used to call me fake Igbo man in that sense, but hence my reference to the window into the world, because I could look through that window and see these traditional elements, and for me, similarly, I had the shock as well. I was like, wow. But I could think about it, because yes, I did read a lot about these sorts of things. Whilst I wouldn't have personally experienced it, I was exposed to some of this in terms of literature, and it just became a lot more real in my mind, that conflict of the time. How someone would grow up, or a people will grow up for generations with this firmly held viewpoint. And when this totally different thing comes from a totally different world to theirs and says, no, your entire viewpoint built on centuries is wrong, do something else. And how that really resonated with the people and caused an earthquake through the society, which continues till today. I could feel that, the beginnings of that earthquake, and think, wow, that society could have been me. It's quite a revelation.
I wasn't aware of the killing the twins, but I was just struck by really how brave Alfred was to stand up, when you've got two large women at the door wailing, and then you've got the witch doctor, and the description of these two little babies in these wrappers, and then later on when he becomes ill and people say, well, that's because, you've gone against the witch doctor, and then he does it again and, he saves another set of twins with another family. I just thought that was wonderful.
Perfect. Now, to be honest, we could go on all day because this book had so many elements. I could only please beg those in the audience to please read it, buy it, read it, guard your copy because I've lost mine to a friend. And no, honestly, I'm actually going to buy an extra one to give to another friend just to buffer myself so I can keep mine. So, but if I had to ask you to please summarize the book for the uninitiated, I suppose, how would you go about doing that?
Summarizing the book, you need to read the book. You need to read the book, that's all. That's what I'm going to say. You just need to read the book. I read it 3 times, and on the 3rd read, I was still laughing. I'm like, really? I saw that before. I was still laughing. So you need to read the book. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, I would attempt to summarize by saying that Life is a Dance is a story of a boy saved from death by his father, who navigates life through changing times. And the book takes us through this boy's journey from that initial event through different phases of life in a changing world. That'll be my summary.
I think I won't add to that other than to say, you know, this is a book that's enormously uplifting. It's something you could read in one sitting and really enjoy it and not want to put it down. And equally, it's something you could pick up and read a chapter here and there and really, really enjoy it and feel good. And this little boy, who wasn't supposed to live longer than a day, has achieved so much and really tells us all that anything is possible. Read it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Are we enjoying ourselves? Are we learning about the book? Is your appetite a little bit wetter for it? Okay, good. The next person we're going to introduce up is a lady who goes by the name of Deborah Debs. Now, Deborah is a Cameroonian-born but London-based. She is a soul singer. She delivers compelling music, which started from the 90s right the way through the noughties. She's basically taken her inspiration from the very greats of jazz, and her latest album, is Life Cycles an album? Yeah. It is, exactly. Okay, so her latest album, Life Cycles, is a wonderful combination of all these things, soulful melodies right the way from the early 2000s, R&B, gospel, and neo-soul. It is a 100% contemporary soul album. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome up to the stage with a wondrous and thunderous round of applause, Deborah Debs.
I've read the book. As soon as I read it, I sent a message to Chibuzo and said, "You should have called this book The Adventures of Kiri." I read it on the train, in the bath, on my bed. I'm still not done with it. I'll let you know when I'm done with it. Anyway, as I was introduced, I'm a singer-songwriter, and when I released my EP album 4 years ago, 2011, one of my greatest supporters was Chibuzo, and he, along with a bunch of other friends who are in this room today, facilitated me launching my album. So when he said, "I've written a book about my dad, and I want you to come and sing," I quickly jumped at the opportunity. And so this song that I'm going to sing is called Fizz and Lemonade, and it's about love and tea, coffee and drinks.
Don't switch places, no game playing.
lay your map right, you find a spot. Ooh, touch that. You know when you get tucked in. Two switch places, new game playing, miles racing. Take me on a cruise in your limousine. I'll be your wine, you'll be my fizzy lemonade. Drink me summer child, make you want to stay. Oh, what you need, I'll provide, baby. I'll be your red, I'll be your white, I'll be your rosé. Sound. I'll be your white, your red, your rosé. Drink me so much, I'll make you want to stay. What you need, I'll provide, baby. Drink me so much, I'll make you stay, baby. I'll be your red and your white and your rosé. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This next song is called Love Galore. Very handsome man, case me in your play. I got my eyes on you. Go ahead and apprehend me. I've been hoping that you and I could chill out in the sun sometime. Papi, I got my eyes on you. And it seems that I will never take my dreamy eyes of you. I got you on my mind and I hope that you swim so deep in my lap, Lord, baby. Ooh, very handsome man. Oh, yeah. Case me in your clay. I got my eyes on you. Go ahead and apprehend me, baby. I've been thinking if it's alright, I'ma dress up nice for you. When it's pretty quiet and the sun's out, is our only company. I will wake on rose. I clear the kitchen for you, baby. If you're feeling cool, then no reason to get out. I'll touch your as you're 6 foot over my 5'5" tall athletic tone. Make me wanna push dumbbells like Stallone. Provoke my sensuality. It will be so easy when you come around. And so you rain. Let not the Lord very
spoken at weddings, I've spoken at funerals and birthdays and loads of other events. And this is the first time I've actually spoken at a book launch. That just tells you just how rare it is that someone actually sees a project through to the very end. And a lot of us have had dreams of writing our own books and doing various things, but to actually be at the stage where you're not just ready to put it on Amazon, but you're ready to share it with the world in an event like this, is just amazing. So I'm sure you all want to see and speak and hear from the men who are responsible for this. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together, coming up from the back for Chibuzo and for Aaron. I have to warn you, gentlemen, I've got a very Jeremy Paxman style interview. So this might be a bit bruising. Who wrote the book?
I was hoping you would never ask that.
We did. Together.
We did. Okay. It sounds like when I say to my wife, it's my car, and she says no, it's our car. When it's broken though, it's your car. All right then. So, Chibuzo, we start with you here. A lot of us have thought about writing a book at some point or another in our lives. Some of us started, and we've not completed our book project. So we know how difficult it is to stay the course for writing the book and actually to finish it. So can you tell us firstly, what was your motivation for writing this book? And just how did you manage to stay on course?
Well, I'd like to start by just saying a very big thank you to everybody for being here. It's quite overwhelming to see the amount of support that we've had from this book. It's one of those projects which, when I started it, I sort of thought to myself, this project has got to be finished, because it was such an important and very, very significant project, at least for me as a person, and also I think in the life of my family, and the fact that I think that the book would go a long way, not just today, but also in the future, that anybody in the future will be able to read it. One of the things that helped me sort of go from the beginning to the end of the project was the fact that I had a deadline. And I'm the kind of person, I don't know, some of you in this room might be like me. I never actually finish anything, unless I have a deadline. And I'll give you a quick story about why and how this book came about. My dad was turning 70 in January of 2015, and last year, my siblings and I got together and we spent quite a few months, including my mum, trying to hatch a plan of how we were going to do a fantastic celebration of my dad's 70th birthday. And we thought that, given all that he's been through in his life and all he's done for us as he's raising 4 kids, we thought that he deserved a wonderful, wonderful birthday. And we had a few Skype calls, because my brother lives in America, my sister is in Canada, my youngest brother is in Nigeria as well, and I'm here in the UK. So there were quite a few Skype meetings where we were trying to discuss on what we would do, how are we going to celebrate this birthday, including my mom in Nigeria as well, secretly having these Skype conversations with us. So this covert operation was going on unbeknown to my dad, and we were trying to think of what to do. And most of what we were talking about was about having a party where we would come and cook rice, kill a massive cow, and have a feast, a celebration, And I really just felt that, we needed to do something a little bit more than that, something that would last generations and generations to come. And so that was where this idea came up, and I thought to myself, we could take some of the stories that Daddy has told us and write something really special, something that would transcend generations as well. And for me, raising my kids in this country, there's always that thing behind you, at the back of your head, where you're thinking, how are my kids ever going to understand how life was growing up in Nigeria? How are my kids ever going to understand what it's like to live in Africa? And how will my kids ever get into the spirit of the culture of those times? And I felt that it would be good to try and see if I could catalog some of those stories that I knew about, and I said to myself, let's write a book, I'll write a book. And so, as with everything in my life, I kind of kept postponing and postponing, and Aaron, when we're writing the book, he used to kind of chide me about the fact that I postponed a lot of things. But when I called Aaron, I called him in October last year, September last year, and I said to Aaron, Aaron, we need to write a book for my dad. And he said, okay, that's fine. Yeah, writing books is what I do, because Aaron here, my good friend Aaron, he's actually a writer, and he actually studied writing and has written a few books in the past. And I met him when I was living up north, and when I thought of writing this book project, I remembered him straight away, and I called him up. I said, Aaron, we need to write a book, and it's about my dad. He said, yeah, that sounds interesting. Do you have a story? Do you have anything? I said, yeah, I have all the material you need. Let's sit down together and write this book. I said, okay. He said, yeah, that's fine. And then he said, okay, so when does the book have to be ready by? I said, in 3 months. And he said, you're crazy. He said, Chibuzo, books get written in 4 years. It takes a long time to put a book together. And I said, Aaron, look, I need to do this. Let us try. Let's give it a go. If by 3 months the book is not rounded enough, we can abandon it. But let's not say we didn't try. So Aaron said he would sleep over it, and he went and had a good night's sleep, I think, over it. Because the next day, when I spoke to him, I was driving to work, and I spoke to him. He said, Chibuzo, I will give this a go. Let's give it a go. And that was the beginning of this project. And we spent so many nights working on it because we had a deadline. We had a deadline of getting it ready by December, because I was going to print the books and take them to Nigeria for Daddy's birthday celebration in January. And that's how the book came about. And I'd like to really thank Aaron for saying yes to the project.
See, now you got me wondering what to buy. I got to get my dad for his birthday. So I'm thinking of a shirt, last time you decided to give your dad immortality, to just make sure that he lives forever within the pages of the book and come to life each time someone reads it. It's fantastic, very well done. Right, so Aaron, that's a really big gift to give to somebody. How did you feel when Chibuzo came to you to ask you to write this book?
Well, first of all, I do not speak as well as them guys, so please indulge me. But I do write more than I speak, so. Before now, I had written a book, and that book took me 4 years. So when he phoned me up and he said to me that he wants to write a book, I said, that's fine. And he says to me, okay, we have 2.5 months. I said to him, yeah, and he said, yeah. I said, okay, mate, you have to take your medicine. Because there is no way on earth. And he said, no, we have to try. I said, there's no way, because my last book took me 4 years, so But then when I sat down, I said, okay, if we do about 1,000 words every day, I think we can, So I said, okay, fine, let's do it. And 2.5 months after, it was done. And even me, I'm even shocked by it. And since then, I think there are a few things have also changed. A book does not take 4 years. So from now on, all my books will take less than that. Thank you.
A book doesn't take 4 years. Some of us have been sitting on books for the last 10. So it's a challenge to everybody. You have a project, you got something you're trying to do, give it an aggressive time frame, you find that you do it a lot quicker and a lot better. All right, so this question is to both of you then. Actually, no, let's start with Chibuzo with this one. From what we've heard with the panelists up here, the book certainly has a lot of very interesting parts. When you were putting the book together, what parts would you say was your best bit and why? Without giving any spoilers away.
I think the most important part for me was trying to capture a lot that happened between my granddad and my dad. And I think that's probably because I'm a father as well, and I have a young son who God has given me that big responsibility of bringing him up. And I think in the very fact that my granddad was able to stand up to protect the life of his twins, I think that was awesome, and I think that spoke volumes to me. And I really thought that was a very, very key part of the story, which I wanted to try and tell. I think for me, that sort of is the foundation on which I want to try and bring up my kids, and the foundation on which I hope my kids will also bring up their kids going forward. So in trying to catalog that story and tell it well enough so that it captures not just the fact that as parents, sometimes it's difficult for us to express love to our kids. We could end up spanking them. How does spanking somebody show love to them? But in African culture, it's something that is very strong and very, very telling about how a father or a mother uses a strong hand to put their child on the right path. And it's done out of the deepest of love you can ever think of. And for me, that was the most important part of the story.
Thank you. There's a saying that my mum always says, which is that as I smack you with my right hand, I will hug you with my left. And I found that very difficult to reconcile as a kid. It kind of seems like mental torture, doesn't it? But it works. It actually does work. I'm going to stray off path a little bit, and because I have a question I'd actually like to ask you, Aaron. When Chibuzo came to you with the material for this book, was there any part of it that just made you stop and think, wow? Or was it just a project?
No, I mean, everything, I would say. I think I like the where he had this thing with a snake. That part, without giving any.
No spoilers, please.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, I think that's those parts where he had serious challenges, where where always where I would say, oh, wow, areas there where I just said, wow, in the book. So yeah, it was, Chibuzo, I've known him for ages. So this was not just anything for me special.
All right, thank you very much. And sticking with you for a second there, Aaron, what would you like this book to achieve? What for you would be the next step from here, where the book is concerned?
Regarding me or the book?
Both. Both.
I mean, if it's sold 500,000 copies, then that'll be good.
Don't let you say that. We want 1 million.
Okay, so yeah.
Okay. And what's the next step for you from here? After being involved in such an aggressively timed project?
I'm writing the other books, so yeah, I'm still doing that.
And Chibuzo, this is a final question for you.
Yes.
Same thing, please. What would you like the book to achieve?
I'd really love to sell 1 million copies. That would be awesome. But to be honest, when I was putting together the book launch, some people were saying to me, let's move back the dates of the book launch for quite a few reasons. And one of them was to try and see if we could get the big newspapers interested, get to the Guardian, get to the Telegraph, and blah, blah, blah. And for me, I really just wanted to sort of move the project on, if you like, and not slow it down and have to go through all of that. Because for me, it wasn't really about getting the Telegraph or about getting the Guardian. That would be nice. If we sold 1 million copies, that would be wonderful. But for me, it was about telling a story that I could get out there to people and people could read and be blessed by it in one way or the other. For me, if this book would find itself in the hands of lots of children around the world so that they can learn a little bit more about Africa, learn a little bit more about African culture, which I feel is not being told well enough. If it can expose somebody a little bit more to what happened in the past and help shape their thinking about the culture, about the people, then I think it would have achieved a lot. Quite a few people have said a few things to me about, Chibuzo, I think the next thing is to do a movie, in fact, some people know themselves, they have put their children forward as actors and actresses in the movie. But we'll see how it goes. And I hope that everyone here enjoys the book. I hope that it makes a good read for somebody on a plane somewhere, on a holiday somewhere, and that the story will not just be something to relax with, but something that will teach a few lessons to a few people and help make people's lives better in some way or the other. Thank you.
I think it would be good to give the audience an opportunity to ask some questions. So if you do have a question, doesn't matter if you've been up here before, or if you were one of the panelists, but if you do have any questions, please put your hand up and quickly let us know your name. Right down the back. If you ask a question, I shall relay it.
My question goes to did you both have any disagreements about any section of the book? So perhaps Chibuzo came up with, let's do chapter 2 with this, tagline, or this narrative or whatever. And Aaron, did you disagree? How did you guys, walk through the disagreement and come up with something so beautiful?
So did you have any disagreements when writing the book?
Yeah, we had loads.
Just conferred.
We had
no conferring going forward.
We conferred because we were just thinking to ourselves, we literally argued all the time. But I think that was actually good, because one thing we did say to each other is that if we didn't argue or we didn't discuss a lot of these things in detail, the book wouldn't be as good as it is today. In fact, I remember the first time Aaron had written some chapters and we came together to review it. And I think there was one chapter he had written which had probably about 20 pages or so. And by the time we finished with it, it was like 5 pages. We hacked and hacked and hacked and removed lines and that was through painstaking line by line thinking, how does this work here? Would it be better if we put this here or there? Is this really telling the story correctly? Would this be misconstrued or misunderstood? And I mean, some nights we slept at 2 a.m., just on Skype. And by the way, Aaron lives in Edinburgh. And I live here in Basingstoke. So this was done over FaceTime and Skype a lot of the time. So yes, we had a lot of disagreements, but I think that was a good thing.
How did you resolve them?
You had the book.
Okay.
Read the book.
All right, then one more question. Yes. Oh, okay, we've got a few questions now. All right then. If we start with the lady with the pink jumper. If you give us your name, please, and let us know who you're directing the question to.
I'm Payal and I'm directing the question to Chibuzo. So how did your father react when he first learned about the book?
Great question.
I think it's a lovely question. So I remember telling my dad I was writing a book, and he said over the phone, "Oh, okay, interesting." So I started asking him questions. So I'll send him an email with a list of questions, and in some cases it took him a while to respond, And I would call Daddy and say, Daddy, what's going on? You know, I sent you questions like a week ago. And he would say, oh, damn, I'm busy, but I'll do it, you know. And Daddy always keeps to his word. He will do it. I knew he will do it, but it took a while. Yeah, and yes, so Aaron just said to me, I mean, the reality is that some of the questions were personal and very deep questions that he would have to think seriously about, you know, and it would take him a long time to come up with, you know, answers, which was fair enough. But I think when I eventually took the finished copy to Nigeria in December and he saw it, he was gobsmacked. He was amazed. I think he looked at it and said, I didn't think you were serious. You know? And I think he thought I was going to do some very simple, you know, write-up about, you know, a couple of pages. But it turned out to be a very detailed story, very detailed book. And he has not stopped talking about it. It's what I'll say. I think he's probably very proud. And I won't say much because he's going to talk later on. And I think in answer to your question, I think I've probably made my dad love me a little bit more.
Any other questions? All right, lady over here with the lip print.
Hello, my name is Sally Chibuzo, and I'd like to say first of all a big congratulations to both of you, Chibuzo and Aaron, on this fantastic achievement. It doesn't work anyway. My question is twofold. First of all, Aaron, I've known you since like forever. In the writing world, Aaron's like my BFF. And in terms of detail, what I want to know is, how did you cope with telling the story, but having to tell somebody else's story through your own voice? Because I read this book not from beginning to end, as Aaron and I normally do. We read the whole book, but in various chunks. So, like from one chapter, jump to another, blah blah. You know, so it talks very much about the man in question. And I understand that. I took a lot away from it. But I'd like to know how difficult it was for you, if it was, to tell somebody else's story with your own voice.
Well, first of all, it was not my own voice, because I had him with me every day. And I think he was making sure that I did not run away with some fairy tale. So yeah, it was every day we were there, day after day, night after night, and he would look at what I've done and he would add his, you know. So that was how, you know, we wrote the book. So it was not just my own thing. I don't know if that makes any sense. Okay.
Well done, Chibuzo, in bringing him in, because Aaron does tend to run away with the parents. And my second question is, life is a dance. I'm sure you went through several titles before you arrived at this. Yeah. It is a beautiful title. It speaks to my heart, and I'd love to know your story. Tell us the journey it took you along to arrive at this title.
I was actually going to ask that question to finish off with, so you stole my thunder. Sit down. Fantastic question.
Thank you, Sam. Wow. So I think this was probably one of the hardest decisions, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Deciding on a title took us weeks, months even. Yeah. I think we would go over a couple of titles, and we would say, nah, it's not working, and so I think it was towards probably 2 or 3 weeks towards the end of the writing that I sort of we were brainstorming, and I said, yeah, we looked at some poems, we looked at, I mean, and by the way, if you read the book, you will see some poems along the way. Every one of those poems, we went through there were poems which stood out to both of us, and we thought they were very interesting. We thought they carried a lot of message. And we wanted to try and form a title from some of them. You know, we talked about using some of those titles. But none of them really quite worked, you know. And we would always think, if you put a book on a shelf and somebody sees that title, would it make them want to buy the book? You know, I think that was a very, very big part of our discussion. Until one day I just said, there's a song my dad used to sing, you know, in the shower. Yeah, he does burst into singing occasionally. And the song was Life is a Dance, you know, and you've got to learn it. And it says, so life is a dance, you've got to learn it. Get up and dance, because you deserve it, you know. And he would sing that while he was in the shower. And I said it to Aaron, and Aaron said, I think as soon as I said it, Aaron said, that's it, you know. Life is a dance. That is brilliant. Chibuzo, where have you kept that title all this while? You know, that is it. And once we landed, and it's weird, it's one of those things where once you get it, you know it. You know, it's just there, and that's how we got the title. Does that answer your question, sir?
A final question, please, from the lady at the back. Yes, please.
Hi, my name's Kath, and this is to Chibuzo. How many people did you send, got view of the draft copy before it went into print?
So the approach we took with this, because it was such a tight project, was that we got some of our close family to have a look at the book. So before we actually printed the first edition, we had, my sister had a look at the book. We sent it to, who else did we send it to? I think my brother as well. I sent it to my brother as well. Now, the thing with the first edition of the book was that we had very little time. Literally, I printed it the week I traveled. So I had gotten my sister to read it, my brother to read it as well, and they gave some quick feedback, quick comments. Aaron and I spent a lot of time making sure it was clean, but the plan we had was that we would take that first edition, print a few copies of it, take it for my dad's birthday because that's what it was for, and then off the back of that, spend some more time reviewing it and editing it. So the copy you have now, or you will buy today, is the second edition of the book. So it's gone through a little bit more of a fine comb. So people like Eze spent some time sort of reading the book in detail, and Eze was on the panel. He was one of those on the panel. He was sitting sort of in the middle. Eze spent a lot of time on that. I had Ifeda as well, also read the book. There were quite a few other people. My dad combed the book from beginning to end, told us, this is inaccurate, you didn't say this correctly. The war, you know, there were some things about the war which we had to change slightly because we had slightly misunderstood it. But the second edition is perfect, if I dare say so myself. Thank you.
Right, so I was going to finish off with a specific question, but thank you. That is now done. So, if you could please put your hands together one more time for the purpose of the book. The reason you were all here today. Right, we're slowly coming towards the end of today's event. But before we do, it will be good to hear from Sam. So, Samuel's a 20-year-old student from the University of Kent. He's currently studying finance, which means he's going to make a lot of money, and you and I are going to stay good friends. We have the same name too, so I like him. All right, he is also a budding musician. He writes some amazing songs, and he plays like a wizard.
Last Sunday, I was with my uncle, Chibuzo, actually in the car. And he told me about the book, and he said, look, it's finished. And I asked him a question, would you like me to write a song to go with the book? And he said, yes, he would love it, he would love it. So I went over back to my university, and I was just playing my guitar on Wednesday morning, and I was just thinking of what life would be if I was actually dancing to it. Does that make any sense? And I thought about music playing in the background? What music would be playing? How would it be playing? And in any music, in any song you hear, there's a bridge. And the bridge is like a pause. And everyone experiences a pause in their lives where they come across certain challenges or certain mistakes and they have to get over it. So in literally less than 15 minutes, with that knowledge, I finished the song. So because I understand it that way, and because his father was such a great, great man, the title of the song is Still Standing, no matter what life throws at you. It's just a fantastic achievement to come together and celebrate someone so great. So I hope you all enjoy it. Life is so beautiful. So many days and so many nights I've laughed and I've cried. Her smile is so beautiful. So many days and so many nights she stood by my side. And we'll be dancing along to the music we made. And we'll be singing along to the songs, the words that we wrote. And they'll say, oh, 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 I'm still standing. And oh, 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 I'm still standing.
Life is so wonderful. So many ups and so many downs. I've lived and I've loved. A million bridges have crossed.
There'll be more.
So many people I've lost. And the faces I've seen and the places I've been, but I always come back to your arms.
And we'll be dancing along to the music
we made.
And we'll be singing along to the songs, the words that we wrote. And they'll say, oh, 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 I'm still standing. Oh, oh, I'm still standing.
And we I'm still standing. I'm still standing.
And we'll be dancing along to
the music we made, yeah. And we'll be singing along to the songs that we wrote, yeah.
You can sing along and say, oh, 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 I'm still standing. And say, oh, 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 I'm still standing. Believe what you said. Say, oh, oh, I'm still standing. One more time. Say, oh, I'm still standing. Thank you very much.
Right, it is time for the main event. You've all heard from the book. You know that there is a main protagonist in all of this, and you're about to meet the character behind it. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Okoro. Let me finish. Sir, I've heard that you're a disciplinarian, and therefore I do not want to get any of this wrong. Okay. Professor Okoro is the protagonist of the book, Life is a Dance. He is the twin. I'm sorry, I just got to break from this a second. When I read this, it stopped me in my tracks. And when I read it to you now, you'll understand why. This next line. So he is a twin who was not killed. Your life is a miracle. A retired professor of electrical machines and power systems, he was educated at the University of Lagos, where he obtained the BSc Honours degree in electrical engineering in 1973. He obtained a master's degree from Imperial College in London in 1975. It is not over. He went on to do his PhD at the University of Birmingham. He is a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. He's a member of the IET and has served as chairman of the Codes of Standards. So he has served as chairman of the Codes and Standards Committee of the NSC for many years. In retirement, he runs a business promoting the use of renewable energy in developing countries. Professor Okoro lives in Nigeria with his wife. He has 4 children and 7 grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the reason you're all here, for the man of the book. Will you stand, please? So the professor shall give us our closing remarks.
Let me first introduce to you my wife, mother of Chibuzo. The presentation of the book, Life is a Dance, is a very welcome development to members of our family, as every reader of this book will remember us for good. The idea to write this book came from our children, to honor me, as you have heard, on my 70th birthday. When Chibuzo told me that he wanted to write a book about me, my first reaction is, what is there to write about me? Who wants to read about Chris Okoro? Are you going to write about my achievements professionally? Or a patent that is to my name? As professionals, we prefer accolades from our peers. And we prefer to be visible amongst our peers. Outside that, there is nothing else. But I never realized that he was thinking about my childhood days. He had heard the story of how twins were thrown away in our community. Actually, I tried to discourage him from this project. But I want to thank God that today we have the book, Life is a Dance. The events of today, I believe, were ordained to happen, because I could have stopped it. I could have discouraged it. And I want to say that my wife and I and the entire family welcome all of you to this event. And we are very happy that you found time to honor us today. When I saw the testimony of Chibuzo on the third page of the book, as to the reason for writing this book, it actually blew my mind. He said to my father, the inspiration for this book, thank you for being a stalwart of all things good and fair. And I said, wow, I never thought that somebody would speak about me like this. I thought that I wasn't that good as a father. At some stage, I had to leave my family to go and serve in my state as a commissioner for 3 to 4 years. And my wife did all the caring that the children needed. And later I wondered, how did we get these children to be good in everything they did? We counted ourselves especially lucky that our children did very well, and we are proud of them. Now, in June 2014, I was invested a fellow of the Academy of Engineering in our country. And my children wrote a tribute to me, led by Chibuzo. And it was a glowing tribute, very well written. I thought it was the best of all the tributes presented at that event. And at the end, he put a postscript. And he said, life is a dance, and you've got to learn it. Daddy, you have taught us to dance, and we are now enjoying the symphony. And at that time, there was no talk about this book project. He never knew he was going to use it a few months later as a title to this book. When I was discussing with him about our childhood days, he was sending a lot of questions, and I was sending answers back. He kept sending these questions, and I'm amazed at how he has used these questions to produce this book with his friend Aaron. Now, some of the things in the book, as you have been told, were not quite accurate. Some of them I did not agree with, but they are the writers, and I discovered that they were interested in writing something that would serve, something people of their generation would enjoy reading. And so they put quite a few things that if I was given a chance, I would take out. Now, the main actor in this book is not really me. My name is Christopher. My family calls me Kiri. Some of my friends call me Chris. I love that name And I think that the book was not seriously about me. The reviews have been very well done. I thank the reviewers. I enjoy their comments. For me, the book is a good beginning of the story of my life and that of my family. But it did not cover the hidden parts of my life. I want to be able to explain this. There is something I would describe as the inner man of every person. And when you think of the missionaries that came to Africa, through whose ministry I'm alive today, there is something that made some of them leave the shores of this country to come to Africa, facing all the dangers that they had to face. I've often had to ask myself, what would have happened if these missionaries did not come? Of course, maybe the killing of twins in my part of the country would have continued, and maybe I would not be alive today. But at that time, when Europe was going through an industrial revolution, and there was also the Great Reformation in the church, I believe the Holy Spirit was on the move in this country at that time, and gave these people, some came as missionaries, some came as treasure hunters. But they all worked together to produce what we saw in that part of the world. They had an inner strength that enabled them live with their security in this land, travel with ships that were not using modern equipment. They were not even afraid of their lives. And they went through the journey to bring the gospel and turn lives from darkness to light. And that is an aspect of this book that has not been mentioned. And I believe that is where the future of this book lies. The main actor in the book is really my father, Papa Alfred Okoro, the catechist who received the gospel of Jesus Christ with all his heart. He not only gave life to the twins as their biological father, but risked his life to protect them from the darkness of that generation. And we are going to think a little bit about the darkness of our generations. Papa Alfred scored another success story, which was not mentioned in the book, which I would like to bring out clearly. He was among the few men who decided to send their daughters to school. At that time, daughters were regarded as people who would go to other families. And so any family spending money on daughters would be spending for another family. And so they prefer to keep them at home. But Papa Alfred sent his daughters to school. It is worthy of mention that my twin sister, whose life could have been taken by the savages of that generation, made a first-class honors degree in English language. and is today a PhD holder in English literature. But permit me to say that Papa Alfred received fully the blessings of those who served in the vineyard of the Lord, even with the meager resources available to such workers at that time. I made bold to say that several promises in the Holy Bible for workers in the vineyard have been fulfilled in his family. Now, when we have gatherings of this nature, sometimes people do not want to talk too much religion. But if there was no Christianity, there would be no us. And therefore, we must talk about it. We cannot pretend about it. Time permits me only to quote a verse of scripture, Psalm 112, verses 1 to 3. It says, "Blessed is the man that feareth the Lord, that delights greatly in his commandments. His seed shall be mighty upon the earth. The generation of the upright shall be blessed. Wealth and riches shall be in his house, and his righteousness endureth forever." I hope I have not gone too much off the track. This book, I believe, is a candle light to the world. And every reader of the book should be able to note the contrast between light and darkness in the lives of men. Darkness is every negative thought or action in man that is against the will of God. Darkness is not the characteristics of any race or tribe, but exists everywhere in the world. Indeed, there is so much darkness in our world today. As you think backwards of those times, that history that this book has connected us to, let us think of the darkness of this age. When you turn on the TV now, you see strife everywhere. People are killing one another. Lives are being terminated. Bombs are being thrown here and there. It is the same darkness as we had in our community at that time. And I think the world should be conscious of this and seek to eliminate such problems, such challenges in our communities so that people can live their lives in peace. I want to say that all hope is not lost for our world. The Lord Jesus said in John 8:12, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." So it is my wish and prayer that reading this book will enable one to focus on the positive things of life, the contrast between light and darkness, that people will change from being bad to being good, from doing evil to doing the right things. All of them are in the same category. The choice is ours to live a life full of darkness or accept the light of life. Whenever light enters a dark room, the darkness will disappear. Be a candle light that can light other candles and lose nothing. I hope that you will be able to appreciate this emphasis on light and darkness through the reading of this book. I was asked to speak for 5 minutes, and I want to thank the authors, those who took time to write this book, and my children who believe that this project should be done. We thank particularly our guest author, Oteze, the literary expert who converted answers to questions of my early childhood, my secondary education, and tertiary education to community plays, which form the core of the book. We thank Chibuzo, the co-author, and all our children for their conviction to put this story together and for surmounting all my efforts to discourage them initially. I want to appreciate especially our friends of many years who are here today. They are one of the few people we invited ourselves, and they did not waste time to come here. When you think of my story, from childhood through the war, coming to England, and moved from London to Rugby, that is not part of the story. From Rugby to Birmingham, the obstacles surmounted are my own personal stories. I hope I will be able to write these stories myself. But I want to welcome, thank especially Tony and Nancy Cervantes. Please accompany. We met them in Rugby, where I spent 1 year at GEC Machines, doing graduate training after a master's degree. And I want to say that that was a special period in my life, where I received all the confidence I needed to be a lecturer in machines. And without it, I wouldn't have done a good job of teaching electrical machines. We met them in Rugby, and they have been there for us. I believe strongly that along the way, in fact, there's a Yoruba proverb, Yoruba adage, that brothers are like people in a bus. And when each one of them gets to his bus stop, he gets down and goes his own way. And then he meets people along the way who then become their new relations and friends and brothers. Tony and Nancy have been there for us since 1975. And I want to appreciate them. They have been good Christian friends. If you won't mind, I would say they have been guiding lights. They have been angels. You can put it in the way you like, to us. And I want to appreciate your guidance. Well, I'm sure my son, Chibuzo, has a number of friends and even colleagues at work here. I want to appreciate these people who have assisted him in whatever he does. I can see a lot of our people, Nigerians who live in England, who have come a long way to give support to this event. You have honored not only myself, but my entire family. I want to appreciate you and ask that you continue to work together, and that as you stay in this country, please make friends that will endure. Don't let your friendship just be for a short period of time. And I very much appreciate what I've seen today, and I'm confident that you will continue to enjoy your stay in this country. We thank the publishers and printers for a good job. A good book will always sell itself. It doesn't need adverts. Once it's on the shelf, somebody picks it, flips through it, and makes up his mind. He wants to read it. I think this book will do the same. There are 3 things the Chinese say that a man should achieve in a lifetime. In fact, in my community, I would say that they always say that to be a man is not an easy thing. And for you to be a man, first you have to get to a certain age, and you begin to sit with other men. And then you have to make enough money to pay some dowry to get married. You have to pay big dowry to show that you can look after your wife. After that, they begin to regard you as a man. The Chinese say that a man should build a house, raise a good family, or write a book. But in all this, they forget that behind every successful man is a woman. And so I want to thank Chibuzo and his wife. I want to thank Adora especially for the support she provides for Chibuzo and for enabling him to put this project together. I want to thank everybody. Thank you for your attention, and God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Okoro. Right, we're rounding up, and there are a few people who we need to thank for this occasion. Now don't worry, I'm not thanking you. I don't know who you are, but Chibuzo does. So, Chibuzo, over to you.
Right, I'm so sorry about the time, but I hope you've had a lovely time today. Thank you so much for coming. I would like to thank somebody very special, somebody who has been with me through this project, has endured me coming to bed late. My lovely wife, she's standing right at the back. Please, can you look at her and make her feel embarrassed? Thank you, Adora. God bless you. I would like to thank all my lovely friends from work, from Leaseplan, who have come to join me today. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you being here. It means the world to me. To Marie, who joined the reviewers group on short notice, thank you so much. God bless you. I'd like to thank all my lovely friends from church who are here today, my family. You guys are my rock. You know, you make Basingstoke home for me. Thank you so much for coming. I'd like to thank Tony and Nancy for coming on very short notice. I literally sent you the invite less than a week ago, and you're here. In fact, I mean, the fact that Daddy talked about you for like 5 minutes, it's amazing. Right, I would like to thank Uncle Obi Wansike and Auntie Mary, who've come as well. Thank you so much, sir, for coming. I really appreciate it. I would really like to thank the friends of Aaron who have come as well. I don't know you personally. For Sally, who's come, thank you so much for coming, and your friends as well. Thank you for coming here today. Anybody? Yes, how could I forget? My sister came all the way from Canada, please. Amy, where are you? probably with her kids. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for all the support. For Deborah Debs, my dear Deborah, who came on very short notice as well. She has come and she's performed, and I really appreciate that. For Sam, who's come with Deborah, thank you guys as well. The book, I hope, will go out and do something good to the world. That's my hope. And it's a seed that will sow and hope that it germinates and yields lots of fruit. As you go out, please get a copy if you can. If you want to get one for a friend, you're more than welcome to. We will not stop you. We will collect your money gladly. Also, we're going to be signing books as well. So you can get a signed copy, or my dad can sign it for you if you want. Myself or Aaron can sign as well. We're going to be outside in the lobby. The books are being sold in the lobby as well. You can go and get some. On your way out, there's some refreshments. Please make sure you grab a drink, get something. I know it's not easy to sit down for such a long time. But I hope you've enjoyed yourself. Thank you so much for coming. God bless you. Bye-bye.
We're finished. Have a safe journey home, everybody.